Hey guys, Ian Rutherford here with Three Rivers House of Prayer. Happy to be with you this Monday morning. We're in Psalm 119, verses 153 through 160. And we're calling this section the three cries for life, or the threefold cry for life. And we're gonna use 153 as a primer, but really there's about almost every other verse in this section is tightly knit together, tightly sewn together, and is tied to this first expression in verse 153. So I'm going to read that, but I'm going to reference quite a few different places in this section. 153 reads, "Look on my affliction and deliver me, for I do not forget your law." And 153 holds two of humanity's deep longings. One is the confidence that God sees us, or the confidence that God is engaged with us. Look upon me, look at my life, look at my situation, look at my circumstance. And then second part of it is the asking for deliverance, the asking that God would join our cause, that God would come alongside of us and engage with us, and our innate sense of inadequacy, whether it be money or relationship or our own personal assessment of ourselves, God would meet us in that gap, and we would find a deliverance, we would find a freedom for our hearts. Well, there's three cries for life in this section, and he ties the deliverance, and he ties the ability of God to a quickening or to life. The first one is in 154. He says, basically, give me life because of your righteousness. And really the way it reads in the scripture is redeem me. And this idea of redeeming in verse 154 is the idea of God purchasing us, or God taking personal cost, or experiencing personal cost, if God could ever be reduced, which he can't. But the idea that God would make a personal investment in us, and it would be from the place of his righteousness. And there's three ideas that the different people have connected to here. And number one, it's the idea that God would purchase us like he would purchase a slave, that he would purchase us out of slavery. And not because we're useful to him, although he enjoys our ability, but simply because of his righteousness. He looks at our condition, and he would spend his wealth, he would spend his energy, he would spend his life for the sake of redeeming our life. The other folks have talked about it would be redeeming like as in a levirate marriage, where an heir is provided for the family so that the name could extend. It's the idea that a man would take on a pretty significant financial and relational burden in a very dark and inopportune way, but yet redeem it through his efforts and through his sense of righteousness towards his brother who's died. And it would be like Boaz, who is the kinsman redeemer for Ruth. It was a type of righteousness, or a type of purchasing. He purchased the rights of the kinsman redeemer to actually have Ruth as his wife, and it cost him. It was a worthy cost, but it cost him nonetheless. And this basic idea is that the writer is saying, look, give me life according to your righteousness. You are righteous, and I can count on the fact that because you are righteous like no other being in the universe, that I can find life in you. And we would immediately look to the cross and see that God inconvenienced himself in the uttermost, not just he gave his life, he gave everything of himself so that we could give ourselves to the Lord, so that he could purchase us with his blood and provide freedom for us. We were slaves to sin, and he made us sons and heirs and gave us freedom because of his righteousness, not because we could offer him anything. Well, verse 156 says, give me life because of your mercy. He says, look, according to your mercy, give me life. And this idea of life is that you would quicken something. You would cause something that is dead or something that is bound to suddenly find life and be quickened and become awake or become full of life. And he says, look, give me life because of your mercy. And this idea, this Hebrew idea of mercy, is that it would be out of the depths of your being or out of the depths of your bowels, that deep on the inside, there would be a movement in your heart for me. And instead of giving me what I do deserve, you would withhold what I deserve. Mercy is withholding what we do deserve, and grace is giving us what we don't deserve. God's mercy, he goes, I'm going to hold back what you deserve because I love you, because there's something in me, deep inside of me, that moves when I look and see you. And again, that's one of the foundational longings of our heart. Everyone has been a little boy or a little girl, and they're one of their first cries that we've ever heard from a young person or a young child is, Daddy, look at me, see what I'm doing. Mama, look what I'm doing. It's innate within our personality to long to be seen and enjoyed by the authority that's over us. Well, he says, great is your mercy, or great is your compassion. And it's the idea that he's abounding. There's many mercies. There's many emotional movements within God's heart to want to give mercy. Then finally, there's the idea in Psalm 1 or verse 158 that says, "Give me life because of your steadfast love." And this alone could have been the devotion this morning. This whole concept of steadfast love. The definition, or the way I've been able to kind of pencil this out, is that loving kindness. The word used here, loving kindness or steadfast love, is the eager desire of someone to give themselves freely and fully to the other person. Oh my goodness, does that move my heart? It's the eager desire to give oneself to another fully and completely in love. That's what my heart lives on. That's what your heart lives on. That God would want to, that he would have an eager desire for you. He would have an eager desire for me, and that out of that desire, there would be a deliverance. There would be a movement from God's hand, simply because he likes us and he loves us, and there's an eagerness in his heart that even though he's high and lofty and lives upon a throne, he looks and he reaches in because of his desire for us. Well, the 160 kind of ties this all up, verse 160, and he says, the sum of your word is truth. And in my estimation, he's talking about the totality of his word, but I would like it to apply it to this section. He says, look, the three places that I would find life: in God's righteousness, in God's desire to give mercy, and in God's loving kindness. If I were to sum these up, if I were to add these up, your word is true. These are the fountains of life for my heart. This idea of truth is the idea that there is a surety or a firmness. In other words, you can bank on these things. If you were to put your foot on these and step up, you wouldn't lose your step. Or if you were to invest in them, there would be a return. It's the surety or the firmness or the reliability of these three cries to be answered by the Lord. Well, I mean, those three cries come at us with such force because they meet some of the deepest longings of our heart. And that's really what I want to pray for this morning. Lord, I pray for the three cries for life, that your people would be confident in your righteousness, that they would love. They would be able to be confident in your character, to cry out for mercy and be confident that you will give it. And Lord, that your loving kindness will carry your people, that they would feel the emotional impact of your eager desire to give yourself fully to them. Lord, when we feel oppressed, when we feel afflicted, when we feel like life has got us down, the feelings of isolation, loneliness, the feelings of being disconnected or being uniquely unable to reach for the Lord, it weighs on our heart. I pray the power of your loving kindness would crush that atmosphere of oppression, that atmosphere of disconnect, and they would feel the power of your eager desire to give yourself to them. Lord, let that threefold cry for life burn inside of them, and let it be significant to them saying, you're looking at me, you're gazing at me, you're enjoying me, you're watching me. Even in my affliction, you're not far away from me. Lord, you would cause them to experience deliverance first on the inside, but Lord, also in circumstantial life, with money, with relationships, with ministry, Lord, with jobs, with family. Oh, a mighty, mighty deliverance would come upon your people. Bless your people, Lord. Thank you for my friends. Bless them in your name. Amen. Guys, pleasure to be with you. Long one today. My apologies. Just hope you go with the Lord's blessing this morning. This is something you can feast on for the rest of the week. Thanks.